for a one-world democracy, a tedious exercise in rudimentary propaganda. With sophistries and doublespeak, they portray freedom as obedience, democracy as tyranny, and UNATCO as the proprietor of terrorism, an idea as shocking as it is reprehensible. Other organizations, such as the self-proclaimed Revolutionary Successionist Forces, (NSF), the US, claim allegiance to the meme war, but are in fact no better than common criminals. They desire territory and wealth at the expense of society at large. The civil war is merely a smokescreen for criminal activity. Any population can be quickly turned against such revolutionaries by simply educating them about the UN's policies and goals. I remember before saying, I don't see an inherent issue with a one world government. It's probably just because I've seen so much sci-fi with, oh, he's the planetary leader, she's the planetary governess, whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, you'd have to have the right infrastructure, the right system for it to work. I'm kind of thinking, to put it in different words, more like an empire having many kings under them, but the kings can rule their own country and, as they see fit. The emperor is just the one who dictates, wars and shite, I guess, to put it that way. It just, I've seen, my mind's kind of going to the famine in Ireland, with the potato blight and all that. The English really didn't care. If we had our own government here, they might have been able to do something. I've actually seen some people refer to that as genocide. If it was, my knowledge of it makes it seem more like one of incompetence, less of maliciousness, and more of just they don't know how to rule any place. They're very, just like, how do you rule country? But yeah. So yeah. Certainly, I'm sure there'll be issues with it, but you'd have to certainly have to have the right infrastructure, the right way of doing it. But as a concept, it's not inherently a evil thing or a bad thing. But yeah, I could see it done very poorly. So yeah, threat profiling. Symbolic attacks, the Statue of Liberty bombing, the desecration of the Soviet War Memorial in Berlin, the department store shooting sprees on Orchard Road in Singapore, are the recourse of the weak. They serve only to call attention to a group or cause that is no more than marginal interest to the public. But what distinguishes true terrorist activity is its gradual escalation towards genuine acts of war. Fringe groups now have access to technology that allows direct assault on governments, including the classic trio of nuclear, biological, or chemical weaponry, (NBC). Now, aside from direct assaults on a nation and its people, indirect attacks can cause considerable damage. Rogue software can disrupt financial markets, communications, and military operations, while encryption programs allow terrorists to coordinate smuggling operations in secret right over the net. Drugs, guns, legal immigrants, and even heavy equipment such as armored vehicles and cruise missiles are routinely traded across borders, aided and abetted by such software. UNATCO, the first organization with the technology, manpower, and authority to cope with such threats, is an idea that is long overdue. Know your enemy, NSF. The National Successionist Forces, (NSF), remain a very real and increasingly widespread terrorist threat. 10,000. That's a one old organization. 10 years ago, in response to the Sporting Weapons Act of 2042, splinter groups from nearly every state militia refused to surrender their rifles, grenades, landmines, and other collectibles prohibited by the Act. Unified under the charismatic leader of Leon Woods, these isolated fanatics eventually formed the NSF, with Woods assuming the rank of general. Their intended goal: the liberation of Washington, Montana, Oregon, and Northern California. While Woods died during his infamous last stand in 2045, his war machine continues what can only be termed an occupation of the United States, aided by an encrypted network designed by distant computer scientists from San Francisco and Seattle. Currently, the UNATCO cryptography division has had minimal success in tracking their communications, requiring more direct intelligence gathering techniques to be utilized. The UN has declared war on the NSF. NSF. I was actually just remembering something I was thinking of saying here. As I was saying back in Serious Sam, I'm thinking of writing my own novel series thing. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Like originally, like one plot point that was going to be throwaway, it's actually become much bigger the more I expand on it, and it's actually becoming quite important. I'm keeping it very vague here because I might just give up and say fuck it, I'm done, because I'm actually quite an obsessive person, like I was saying back in Serious Sam. If you haven't seen that, it's fine. I'll be saying again here. I'm actually quite obsessive, and so it ends up being like I can't leave just like swipe a detail under the rug. I have to obsess about it, and like basically, anthropology. I think that's like the study of the movement of people like over time and civilizations and shit like that. I'm probably not describing well. I don't actually know the exact definition, but it's just like I'm thinking the movement of a tribe, why they settled in what certain place, why they did moved here, moved there, the culture, or maybe even ignoring culture, but just why they moved places. I'm thinking of I have to sort all this out, even if it's not in the story. It's still relevant because it's how the world is built, the background world building. Like it's just like obsessive, every little detail, even if it's never brought up in the story, it has to be done because I need to make sure everything makes sense. Like I'm thinking, like, okay, this is going to happen for this reason, but the characters will never find out more details about this because insert reason here. And I'll know the reason, and I may even tell just say, oh, this is the reason why, just at the back of the book, when the series is done or whatever, or like in an interview or whatever. Who knows how much people would care? But I'll just be like, yeah, that's the reason. Characters couldn't find out because no one who would tell them knew, and no one who knew would tell them, or whatever the case might be. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So, well, a fair bit of time thinking about it. Who knows how far along we'll be by 2019. Hopefully I'll at least have more done than I already have. I've only the groundwork for a few factions within the society, not in society, within the world, and a few bits hashing out some idea for a big system within it. Fantasy novel. There's going to be magic. I'm working the magic system out a bit, and some of the people within it, the different societies. Also, one thing I can understand now why so many writers turn to alcohol. Seriously. Also, I was just thinking this before. If I ever do make the game and it takes off, and someone wants to make a game off it or a movie, I would have to distance myself from it, not out of a judgment or anything, and I'll make it damn clear. Like, no, I'm sure the game's fine. I'm sure it's good. I just can't acknowledge it because I get obsessive. I've been told before, and I'm sure it's true, that some details will work better in books than they may in movies, or video games, and some things in video games will work better than they would in movies or books. But I'm obsessive about everything remaining precisely as they are in the books. Not saying they couldn't write a different story in the world, but they couldn't change any of the lore details. But they might end up doing so. I would be such a pain in the ass. It's better if I just step back and let them do what they're doing. Otherwise I'll just get in the way. It says how I'm thinking of it. Like I said, obsessive. I'm just thinking, originally it was going to be a big thing, but now this is just the idea I had. It was going to be a big story. Now it's even bigger, and I have to work all this out before I start writing it because oh damn it! I started reading a bit of that there and messed with my thought. But like I was saying, it all adds to the world building. So it all has to be world built before I can craft the story. I'm thinking once it's all done, I just connect the dots. Probably won't be that easy, but yeah. Know your enemy. Silhouette. Famous for inserting 20th century style commercials into the net broadcast. Famous for inserting 20th century style commercials into the net broadcast of the World Cup in 2050, Silhouette favours feats of spectacle over violence. Printed circuits, part of this nutritious breakfast, the announcer told children in one World Cup commercials. In one of the World Cup commercials, you ain't mech till you eat mech. A mech boy chews a memory chip. Boys who eat organics get stomped by their post-human classmates. Mech boys in UNATCO helmets and metal boots take turns kicking another boy. Despite their numerous pranks, these intellectuals, artists, and labor organizers pose a serious threat. They're well armed and have been linked to the murders of numerous European politicians and journalists. They will not hesitate to use lethal force. Really? Even though they prefer feats of spectacle over violence? That sounds inconclusive. Picus, are you up to something? The UNATCO surveillance of Hong Kong is currently a high priority, given the renewed threat to Chinese organized crime in the form of the triads. Despite being a model of prosperity and technological leadership for decades, Hong Kong persists as a haven for organized crime. The triads, namely the Luminous Path and Red Arrow, vie for control of the 10 trillion credit shipping business, much of which supplies Greater Asia with parasitic technology, illegal drugs, and weapons. But most disturbing of all, the triads preach an ethic of technopiracy. That has found enthusiastic support among small shopkeepers and businessmen, who often aid the gangsters and buy their bootleg software. Global and greedy, this army of middlemen remain insensitive to how their violations of intellectual property and copyright laws damage the global information economy. Other threats. UNATCO operatives have identified over 1,250 terrorist organizations active in the world today, some too small to currently present a serious threat, but all eager to see one or more governments topple. Such troops as the Templars, Europe, or X-51, Western US, will be dealt with in subsequent volumes of Know Your Enemy. Templars, Night Killer, remember that? Manderley was involved enough in that. Don't have a thing for that. Okay, she's after disappearing. Or I might just be oblivious. She seems to have disappeared. Yeah, I think she'd have probably left the door open if she just, walked out.
You found your office. Did Janice give you your login? Yes, I see here that she did.
Guess you aren't the most observant. Wait, did I get 50 points for clicking on the chair, or did I get 50 points for coming in here? Take that, box. Book. Welcome to UNATCO. Classification: the UN has 9 levels of security above top secret. This manual and all material that is not otherwise marked is classified as Angel or 0A. If you're not Angel/0A or above, report immediately to your supervisor or face disciplinary action. Other classifications will be explained upon reaching higher clearance. In its efforts to combat terrorism, the UN has created UNATCO for the swift deployment of a coordinated force. I love how they just capitalize that. To counteract any insurgent operations. You are justifiably proud to be a part of this organization. Physical capabilities place you within the upper 1% of national ground combat units, where mental capacities have been honed to sharpness by the UNATCO Academy. But as part of a larger organization, you also understand the need to heed orders from your superiors without hesitation. Superiors are typically briefed on matters from which you may not be cleared, and then hesitation on the part of an agent can result in severe impairment of mission objectives and attendant casualties. UNATCO has faith in you, and this faith will be rewarded in due time as your operational capacities are increased. Brave the darkness, for you carry the torch of freedom. I will never work well in a military or anything like that, because it's just like, obey your orders, kill those civvies, gun people down, or whatever. You have to obey it without question, I think. And it's just like, I like to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I like more intel than I'll likely get. Plus, I couldn't kill a person. I just wouldn't have it in me. Tase, yes. Anything more, no. Wouldn't really be military worthy. Also have an issue with hard asses. They just rub me the wrong way, you know? UNATCO and the public. In carrying out their duties, UNATCO agents often come in contact with the public. You are a peacekeeper. Your first objective is safeguard human life. Though terrorists may see an advantage in harming civilians, UNATCO agents do not. Issue a warning before firing at a suspect, and always instruct bystanders to get down on the ground. Refrain from firing into large crowds. Every civilian hurt is collateral damage. However, keep in mind that no civilian with a clearance below Angel A should be trusted, maybe a potential spy. Anyone can be a spy, and secrecy is their ally. Remember, we're all in this together. Doesn't that counteract the first statement? We're all in this together, but everyone's against you. Trust no one. I guess they presume they mean all UNATCO agents are in it together, not humanity's in it together. Makes sense, but I prefer my more diabolical one there. Because it's more, paranoid twitchiness. JCD BIONIC man. Okay, this is from Ray's. Oh, the doc. Hey JC, guess I'll have to get used to calling you JC around the office. Not sure why. That's my name. I'm like James Bond. Not sure where they came up with that, but at least they gave you the same last codename as your brother. JC, Jesus Christ. I think that's actually intentional. Anyways, whatever they're calling you, it's good to see a familiar name on the roster. My first job here has been to read up on your augmentations. I'm beginning to see why you found classes so easy. Every neuron in your head has been augmented. For example, the voice in your head from an operator, someone here at HQ able to handle the scanning equipment in your skull and broadcast a voice over your comlink, leaps fully formed right into your temporal lobe, bypassing the eardrum and its sensory neurons. It's perfectly inaudible to everyone around you, of course. Not to mention the nanites clinging to your axons can both receive and transmit symbiotic information, so if you ever need help, don't sweat it. Someone at HQ probably already knows. Come by if you ever want to hear more. This is great stuff. But you don't have the clearance to tell me. I don't have the clearance to know. Huh. I was asked by some regional medical coordinator to forward this information to all of you. I do so without further comment. By now you've heard about the upcoming transition to nano-augmentation. It's coming, but not as soon as you think. UNATCO has only one nano-augmentated agent, with a second just now graduating from the academy. It'll be years before the program leaves the laboratory. Your mechanical augmentations are not obsolete. Some agents expressed concern they'll be walking junk in 10 years. One agent expressed their fears at an anonymous email saying, we'll be sold at flea markets, old grey golems for scaring the children. So what about my legs? What about my life? Sick. Keep some perspective. Prosthetics remain the only proven technology for enhancing human abilities. Those who make the sacrifice are appreciated, commended, and saluted as heroes. I'm not sure which I'll prefer. Full body cybernetics, like prosthetic thing, or nano-augmentation. Certainly from what I've seen of nano-augmentation within Deus Ex and, Jensen prosthetics. I go with Jensen prosthetics. I know he wasn't full body shite, but it's not much. Combine Jensen with Ghost of the Shell tech. There, you got a serious badass there. And immortality. Ain't that awesome? Yeah, if it's done right, technically immortality, but depending on who you ask, you are dead. It's only a clone remaining in your place. So, I have no idea what to make of it. Directorate. Now, nano-augmented agents will often encounter stress created by resentment among fellow agents, particularly those who have been mechanically augmented. In an effort to secure freedom and liberty for those under their protection, many UNATCO agents have chosen to sacrifice social acceptance for mission performance by surgically replacing limbs and organs with mechanically or electronically enhanced equivalents. But your nano-augmentations point the way to the future, thousands of microscopic living organic machines that exist in symbiosis with your body. Because such augmentations create only minimal disfigurement. They are likely to be a source of friction between you and other mechanically augmented agents. But it is important to understand that UNATCO is an organization where individuals must act in consort, which is important to the whole. A mutual understanding is